And so we're going to start, and then I'm going to share my screen if I can find it. And we'll go from there. Everybody seeing my screen, or Buck, you seeing my screen? All right, I'm going to, and so I have to look up at y'all, and I've got a second screen here that is the where we're going to talk. And so May, woo, and right here at Hangout Music Festival, right at the end of spring, kind of when the summer begins. And I feel like this is a very good time for us to kind of talk about the year. So I'm going to go through, kind of a spring recap that kind of lays the groundwork for the summer. And then we'll talk about the summer trends that we're seeing now. And it's still, we're 2 weeks out from June. And excuse me, that is the very kind of popular peak of the bell curve, if you will, type area that we're in for entering for June right now. And so we still expect to see a lot of bookings, and we're having a lot. Heck, we booked a really good amount for July this week. I mean, it's numbers are good, and let's keep thinking about it. We'll talk about a couple of booking policies that we've changed, modified for the summer. Real estate sales, where are they? What's happening with the sales market? And then just any questions and answers. However, at least for the time being, we're going to be very informal. And so if you have a question, speak up. You can unmute, or you can use the chat. Now, I'm not very adept at using the chat, so just bear with me. I think that this is a good forum to just kind of get a feel for where we're at. And I'm seeing, I don't know, Buck, can you tell me how many people are logged in here? 91 participants right now is what I'm seeing. Yes. 91. So it's a pretty good day. So let's get to it. And so spring, we're going back to the spring of this year, slower than last year's in 2021, which caught us a bit by surprise. We still had the second best March and the second best April that we've ever had by a good margin. And so if you combine those 2 months together year after year, that takes out that Easter timing process. So you really need to kind of, over the years, you kind of need to consider those 2 months together when you're looking at your spring results. The late Easter we had a stretched out spring. Easter was the 17th of April, and this year we had almost 5.5 weeks of spring break, if you will. Last year it was more like 3.5. So it really kind of spread it out. We didn't get the rates, we didn't get the crazy demand. Some of the things, gas prices, let's face it, gas prices it does affect discretionary income that people use on vacation. And so we're watching that closely. It's hurting staffing. I will tell you, we are handling that. Your boards are handling that for the time being, but that is a big issue that we're dealing with. Lack of stimulus, the conflict, Ukraine, what's happened there. I know our government likes to blame a lot on that. I don't know how directly that affects our business, but everybody's a little bit more sensitive, if you will, to what's happening out there in the world. And so air travel coming back in, cruise lines is another big one right there. They're out of Mobile, they're cruising out of Mobile. And so that, changes things. The market in our area, and really all the way down through the Panhandle, lost about 10% in occupancies for those 2 months relative to last year. Wrong way. Brett Robinson, we did much better, losing about half of that or so. loss in occupancy, and we'll look at the numbers, and I think just right here. And so the blue line is occupancy, and I gotta get a, whoops, I did the wrong thing here. There, I'm going to get a line. So the blue, this is occupancy for spring all across Brett Robinson's properties, all the properties that we have. And this is from March 1st through the end of April. So 2 months worth of, kind of the spring break. Look here, and this is the competitor. This is what the market did. This is condos that are competing with, the Phoenix buildings, Island Winds, similar buildings with that across the beach. The red is what the market's doing. And we can show you, and we know this because we subscribe to a service, and actually 3 different services, but one of them, the one we're using here, has 37 different companies in our area on this. And so we can tell it's the majority of companies, the bigger, companies that have the majority of the inventory in town. So it's really, we can see what's happening, right? We can drill down, particularly with Vrbo and Airbnb prices. We can tell what other people are charging in the buildings, things like that. Not a specific company, but we can do market. We can derive some specific company stuff through a different service that we use. And so it really helps. So we're going to talk about not only the occupancy, but the prices that we were charging. ADR stands for average daily rate, and that is, we don't sell days, we sell nights. But and that's a major term in lodging, is kind of the average. So all the nights that we rented for this day, that's what the blue line, the blue bars here, is the price over here. So we have the price over on the right, and you can kind of see maybe we were charging, an average of $225 or something like that. The market, you're going to see in red or orange. I'm not sure what color that is. Peach. And so you can see, and this is final. This is where the market in many cases was charging a little more. However, if you look at the occupancy for, this is March, kind of the spring break period, you can see where Brett Robinson managed to, we saw the signs early, and where we're able to adjust rates to more optimal rates to get an optimal occupancy in here, and so it really, other than about, a little bit of period right here, we beat the market hands down in revenue very handedly. And so, and that's one thing our revenue management team really watches. And then, so let's talk. I don't know if there are any questions about spring before I move. I'm just going to pause for about 30 seconds, see if there are any questions on spring before we move into what we're seeing for the summer. And oh no. All right. You'll have to unmute if you want to talk. All right.
Bill, how many units do you have under management under Brett Robinson? And on this data that you're giving us, how many total units are we being compared against with all the other rental groups?
We rent right at 1,550, a little low, maybe, it fluctuates some, but that's where we are. The market is, I believe that is right at 8,300. That is the market that we're showing. There are about, and I'll have to confirm, I might be 1,000 off, but there are 16,500 condos in the area. There are about 1,500 or so beach houses, and then about 2,000 hotel rooms. And if that, so almost about 18,500 lodging units not including camper sites, RV sites. And that is something that we are competing more with today than we used to. You know, and so, you know, camper sites are becoming, you know, if they're not staying, you know, if they're staying there, or they're not staying with us. And that's kind of how we view it. And so those are even. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Does that include hotels also?
Yeah, he said
This market data does not include hotels. We're only comparing condos.
Okay.
Is what we're watching now. We do watch hotels, right? We have Phoenix All Suites Hotel and All Suites West Hotel. They're on their own condos, but we run them like a hotel. They're all decorated the same. They, you know, we book them just like hotels. And so we have that data as well, right? And I will tell you, the hotel market is, you know, is way behind on these kind of systems than the vacation rental market is, quite frankly. In the vacation rental market, we have a look ahead where I can look at the next 90 days and tell you what our competitors are doing. But on the hotels, there's not a system that exists like that out there. And so it's, you know, the vacation rental is kind of overtaken a lot, the hotel market, with some of the revenue management systems now. So it's getting mature, and we have to be excellent at it. And I will tell you, I think we had the best team in the country on it. Now, I'm not exaggerating. So other questions? We have time, so don't feel like you're missing an opportunity. You can still bring it up. Let's go on. So what are we looking for? We're looking for a strong summer, but not 2021 strong, but certainly better than 2019, which was our last best year, right? Actually, the 2020 summer was better. And I'm thinking the whole year, but, you know, June, July, summer months is what we will be benchmarking against. You know, between, well, 21 is our benchmark, but we'll be better than 20, I think. I'm pretty sure. So pricing, we set the bar very high for the summer rates. And we have, as we found out that, hey, people aren't buying at that rate. Inflation started kicking in a little bit. You know, we've had to lower those and some of our booking policies to make sure we're doing well. And I will tell you, I think we're really, if any of you are pilots or know about the glide path that the pilots have when they're landing, right? They want to be perfect, not too high, not too low, and just the right speed. That's what we're trying to accomplish. And I think we're on the glide path to a really good summer. And so demand, we're looking at similar to 2019 occupancy pace. And I've said that. The rates, however, are still trending closer to 21 than they were, a lot closer to 21 than 19. And so we're still getting, you know, really good rates. Don't want to give that up before we have to, right? And so we're going to look at the market. I'm going to show you the ADR again, us compared to them. And then we're going to look at a couple of things. And so this is May. This is the month we're in right now. And these are our rates. And you can kind of see, why do the rates kind of do this? Well, that's when occupancy, you know, dictates the rates, right? It's, you know, it's demand, really. Demand is how many people want to buy or willing to buy. And that's really what the demand is. And so you can kind of see the rates and what has happened. But our competitors, not much more. You can look, you know, particularly where the rubber meets the road when we're at the highest rates. And I'm going to erase that again. But you can kind of see where our competitors are versus us. Now look at where this is Brett Robinson occupancy for May, and this is the competitive market for May. And you can just see a little, some of it slightly higher. We just saw it early on, and our team made adjustments. And I think we have hit a home run for this month is what I think. So I'm going to go to June, looking at the same thing. I'm not going to, you know, layer it in. I think that's the proper, because I want to show you this is a month ago. A month. So as 4 weeks ago, this was our bookings, what our bookings look like at the rates that we were charging and where the market. And you can kind of see the first part, this is for June. This is for June occupancy and ADR. So you can kind of see where, again, where the blue versus the red, where we were doing well ahead. But look here, maybe we were, you know, our prices too high or whatever, but it was just too early to see what was happening there. So I'm going to go here real quick, and then I'll kind of toggle back and forth, but you can see that we've just about caught up to the occupancy, but we're still at a much better rate. And that is, I think, really impressive. So look here, a month ago versus where we are now.
Bill?
And I think this is really helpful, you know, to see that we, you know, particularly these first 2 weeks, and I will tell you, these first 2 weeks of June have been a burr in my saddle for years, or our saddle. You know, it's just been a pain in the butt because the owners expect it's June, it's summer. Well, the first 2 weeks of June are not prime summer. They're what we've called value summer, lower rates, but the last few years we've gotten a little better here, and by goodness, maybe a couple of years from now this will be prime, but it's pretty darn close to prime now. But the rest of June, I think I'm sorry, I meant to go back here, and I'm going to erase all the ink and just kind of show you there.
Bill, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I'm a little color impaired, so some of this doesn't resonate with me quite the way it might an ordinary person. When you did this presentation in February, you showed stacked bars. The bottom was red or orange to me, and the top was a bluish kind of color, showing the extra amount that Brett Robinson was able to get for a night's rental. I can't even see the other color on this chart. So
Right.
if you're showing the average of the other 37 or however many there were companies, I can't see it.
Fred, I haven't explained this a little bit well enough. The peach, well,
Peach, is that the color? Is that the color it was?
the peach is the color of our competitors. Anytime you see a blue line above it, that's Brett Robinson prices are higher. And if you're not seeing a blue line, the blue bar above it, that is the competitor prices are higher.
For what it's worth, I like the stack bars better.
Yeah, I'll Fred, we will certainly look at how to better present this. I'll have to go back and see what we were doing and look there. So I know this is the real thing here to me is that, well, a month ago we had, you know, I'm getting some calls from owners saying, hey, I'm hearing that my friend here is already booked out for the summer. The point here is that it's too early. A month ago, it was too early to be booked out for June, right? And right now we're just inching into July timeframe just now because of rates, and we know the summer, and we know the demand. Now, we could have a sudden event that drops everything, but the patterns are similar, and we tend to try to learn from those patterns. So Fred, I hope that this can make some sense, that right here, you know, Brett Robinson was a good bit higher in rate. Right here, maybe equal or maybe slightly less. And then, you know, and as a result, erase.
I managed to adjust my screen so I can almost see it. But
Okay.
you used a darker color. That was the difference. Use the darker color back in February. It was much more prominent to me.
Okay, we'll use a darker color next time, and I don't know that I can, Bryant, maybe you could take a copy and make a darker color right now and see, and give me a thumbs up when you've done that, and let me see if I can get that open.
Don't let me
that?
slow you down. I can live with it.
No, he's going to do that while we continue, and
Right.
then we'll see what he has.
Roll on.
All right, thank you. And then I've got a chat. So
Bill,
Red, yeah, yes,
Brett, I'm sorry. Bill, Chuckle Fever, Phoenix Orange Beach.
yes, sir.
I've noticed this June, I've got a lot of 3-day rentals.
Uh-huh.
And it makes me nervous because last year I had a lot of 7-day rentals.
Right.
I was just wondering how that occupancy optimization program that you set in will fill in those blank spots for me on my calendar.
Right. That's what we are pushing for, you know, to get all of the blank days pushed in. Last year, you know, the more demand, we were able to, in some cases, put in 7-night, you know, minimums and things like that, and we could do that again at about $200 or $300 less per night, and just not. And so having a few vacant nights is a much more revenue producing strategy than trying to have a much lower nightly rate and have a 7-night minimum, if you understand what I'm saying. So, you know, we'd like to rent 27 nights per unit in June, and around 29 actually in July is what we'd like to do. You know, and if we can do those kind of numbers, then things really work out well. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right. And so we're going to try some other bar colors as well. So, all right. I'm going to get on to, get back to my screen here and go to, let me get off of this. Okay, I'm trying to get that to go back. I think my mouse being on it did that. All right. So we're going to talk about July occupancy and what we're seeing. And again, keep in mind, we're 45 days out from July. You know, the 30-day mark is what I would call the beginning of peak booking time. And so we're a little bit early, or, you know, maybe in that one standard deviation off the bell curve, but that's about it right now. And so we're going to do the layers again. Let me see. This is the blue where our rates are today. And I'm going to draw a line, kind of, Fred, on where our competitor rates are. This is what, you know, kind of the rates where the competitors are. And we're a little high price. We're a little higher price than the market, and we're talking very similar condos to what you're doing, what your condo is. Our occupancy is here for July, right? It's just too early for July. You ready, Bryant? Is that what you're saying?
The colors are updated on the one saved down to the drive if you want to flip to it.
All right. If y'all want to give me a minute, let me switch over and see. I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to open that okay. Now I've got I've got May 22. Which one is it?
Yes, the May 2022.
Are you sure? Let me go here. It's a more red, so I'm going to get back to my screen. And I'm going to start sharing. And I'm going to start. I can't get this thing to go up. So hold on. Buck, I don't know how to get this thing to disappear. How do I get that bar up top? Do y'all see that bar?
Yep.
The chat bar. Okay. And so this is the June.
I can see better. Thank you so much.
This is the June. Thank you, Fred, for letting me know and mentioning that. Heck, if Fred, listen, if Fred can't see it, none of us are going to have a good time. And I'm kidding, Fred. All right. And so you can kind of see this is the June occupancy a month ago, and then today, where we are now. And you can kind of see we've, for the most part, overtaken the market in occupancy here. Whoops, I didn't have my pen going. Whoops. I went back. So you can kind of see here, certainly here, we're a little behind from here to here, but I will tell you, looking at it again, going back a month ago, you can kind of see that gap, and we've overcome the gap in just about everywhere, and we will overcome that gap. I just don't want to give it away to get it, right? We don't want to give $1 away to get a night's rent. And so we're just going to, not $1, but $500, $550 average. That's incredible that we're doing that, right? And so let's look at July. There's some more chats. I'll get those right after this. I hope that's appropriate. So let's look at July. This is where Brett Robinson rates are. This is where our competitors' rates are. You see it, Fred? You got it? Thumbs up. Got it? All right. It's going to be harder to see the red in there. We might have to come up with a different color for the market. And so we're running behind on the market in the occupancy round, but I will tell you, for July, look at, it's going to materialize. And so not, again, if we can get that 29 nights, that's what we're looking for. Not every unit will do that, but an average, the more, the better we can do. We're all off better, right? So I'll get back. I want to get some chats. I've got several here, and I'm going to try to do this right. I think I go back to sorry. Okay. 3 days rentals in Phoenix West too. Yes, we're going to see some 3-day rentals. At the prices people are paying is pretty pricey. And so we can lower the rates and get people to stay longer, or we can get some back-to-back stays in there. And that's kind of where we think the sweet spot is. And so the gap controls are still in place that help us not have those vacant nights. And so you might know that you have, let's say, 6 nights vacant between 2 stays, and somebody's looking for 4 nights. Well, your unit won't show unless it's a perfect stay. So the better example might be 5-night gap and somebody's looking for 3 nights. Well, we might not show them yet July, but we might go ahead and show that for June, and we do now for June. And so June has been released a lot for that, and so we're filling in those gaps. We can't see the titles on each page. There's a gray box blocking it. Okay. I think, can you now see the titles on the page? I'm hoping. All right. All right.
Hey, Bill, it's your chat bot. There you go.
Sorry. I was looking at, thank you. I should have brought that up to my other screen. And so I'm going to give everybody a minute. This is looking at July, and July is the money maker, right? We're not going to screw around with, we're doing stuff that we know is going to work right now. We watch it closely, but we have time to come in. If you're booked out for July now, 100%, and you're not at your best July ever, including last year, if you're already booked out and not better, then you're booked out too low. And that's just the bottom line. It's just not time to be booked out for July. I mean, we're getting people frantic, and heck, the day before 4th of July weekend or that holiday, people, is sometimes when we have our best bookings for that. So just keep that in mind. All right, we're good here. I'm going to pause for a minute.
Hey, Brett, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Like right now we're pretty good for June, but we've got kind of a crazy gap that's kind of Monday through Thursday. Do we offer, so if somebody says they want Thursday through Sunday, do we say, no, we don't, but hey, we've got Monday through Thursday available? Do we give them alternatives?
We absolutely do. We really do. We also do incentives to try to get, and then we find some other marketing tools for that Sunday, Monday arrival. Getting people to arrive on Sunday, Monday has always been a challenge. And so we have, early on, we can demand a little more. In July, we're going to be, kind of holding tight to our vest, but that first, let's say August, particularly later in August. And right now I didn't even bring August, the chart, excuse me, because it's just way too early for August right now. It just is way too early. I will tell you, our August looks as good as our May was looking. I'm just the forecast for it right now is really outstanding. But what's happened, some of that stuff as we got closer last year, it got really kind of a frantic feeding frenzy almost, and kind of got really crazy. Closer you get, the more frantic people get, and the more willing they are to pay higher, and that's what we're doing. We're kind of holding it to our best. I hope this makes sense to everybody. We spend, I have 3 full-time people, 2 of them with degrees in revenue management, plus a what I would call a professional company, a consulting company that does revenue management for a lot of hotels. They're big in the hotel, but some vacation rental markets, particularly in Hawaii, California, Singapore, a lot of other areas, that they kind of keep us honest in how are we doing relative to other areas like Myrtle Beach, things like that are way outside. And I will tell you, we have plus the 3 systems that we double check constantly, that we're looking, the subscription services that we use, and we can tell what other people are charging, their rates, and their occupancy. So it helps. All right. There's plenty of time to ask other questions. And so a couple of booking policy changes. I'm going to go back. I'm going to say right now, it's not last year's numbers, right? And so I want it to be last year's numbers, but realistically, it's just not. And so we need to beat 2020 numbers for June and July. And I think hands down, we're going to, no problems. there. And so we're gonna have the second best year, summer, that we've ever had. And by the third year would be a way down. And so kind of a new income expectation, revenue expectations is what we're building here. And we're pretty excited and got to keep it going. So some policy changes. So we've changed, prior 4 bedrooms, particularly some 3 bedrooms, we could do 7-night stays, require that for the summer, but we've lifted that for most of them. There's still a few out there that, hey, we can get 7 nights minimums. Let's do it at the really high prices. Our deposit and cancellation policy moved from 14 days to 21 days. And I will tell you, the primary reason we did that was the weather forecast. If somebody can get that 15-day forecast and tell that it's going to be a rainy weekend 2 weeks from now, they don't book, or they'll cancel. And, they were canceling and getting money back at 15 prior to day 14. And so if someone cancels in that at 21 days, we collect the full amount, their full payment, all fees, all taxes, everything. And if they cancel in that 21 days, you get paid just like they checked in. And so plus we might be able to book it again. Let's see how that goes. I wouldn't hope for that, or that's not a good, policy to bank on, but it might be a little extra cream on top type thing is what we're looking at. Hope that makes sense. The gap controls that we were talking about, they're still being used really good in July, June. A lot of those have kind of come off, that we're not, so focused on those. And in a bit, we'll start trying to book those more often. We can book those 2-night gaps and stuff now, but we'll look at plugging some of those 1 and 2 night gaps. Some of the 1-night gaps will get filled with pre-stays and extended stays, right? If there's a gap prior to somebody arriving, we'll call them, about a week out or so and say, hey, y'all want a discount to come on in 1 extra night, night earlier. Or to those people that are here that have an extra night on the back end, well, we call them while they're here, or when they're checking in, we ask them, hey, you want to stay that extra night? We'll give you a discount. And so we have a huge take rate on those as well. And so we really try to fill that in. And so this is pretty much all I had down to talk about for rentals, and was going to get into sales prices and what we're seeing. And so let's talk about any questions we have on rental. Is your gap policy of calling guests and asking them to stay only for certain dates like the summer? We do those gap policies in pretty much all the time, or, the extended stay and pre-stay, in the fall and stuff like that. It's just not, I don't know, it's just not as effective, right? Because of school and we just don't have the take rate. The percentage of them, we just don't even get the percentage. And so we do it a little differently in the off season than we do in the summer. And I'm sorry, that was my chat. I hope that answers your question. All right.
Hey, Bill, one other question for you.
Sure.
Have you guys considered a damage deposit? Because we have had an instance or two where there's been damage by a renter, and then it's been challenging, right? So is that something that you've considered?
It's something I consider, but I'd have to have about, a staff of about 15 more to manage that. Instead of when somebody does what I would call, not long ago, we had somebody pass out in a tub and it overflowed, right? That renter paid for that overflow and the unit they're staying in, plus the units below. We do that through the homeowner's insurance, or if they have renter's insurance, if they're renters at their home, that'll help. So we don't do that. And so what we have is a $1,500 policy, if you will, where we will cover damages to your unit. And so if you have damages, talk to your rental manager at your building, and we should cover that. And if you're not getting satisfaction, please let me know. I would really like to know if you're not happy with what we're saying or doing on that. You know, sometimes it's gray area, and we might say, you know, we'll pay this time and next time you pay or something like that. But I will tell you that managing it, the damage deposit system, we think it's much more competitive to do it like we are. And so I think any gains that you had there would be less so in your revenue realized. And you know, so if you're not getting satisfaction there, call, you know, your rental manager, Teresa Melendez, that runs all of our service desk operations, you know, is a good point of contact. But, you know, you can email me, text me. I'll get my phone number up here. I'll just put it up here right now.
Yeah, I mean, we got good service from Brett Robinson on that. It was just, would a damage deposit help deter the behavior? You know,
Years ago, we had a damage deposit, and I can tell you, I think we did a poorer job then of actually collecting it than we do taking care of it now. And so it's not off the table. But what we're finding is that the booking, we get a much better booking and rate if we're doing it this way. So, but it's not off the table, and there may be other creative ways to do it, right? And so we keep that radar up and out. And so damage is a big deal, right? We need to find that promptly and take care of it promptly. This is my cell phone, 251-424-0425. And I'd ask that if you're going to contact me, text me first. And I promise I'll get back to you. So I'm showing 3 chats. I'm sorry. Let me go up to the gap policy of calling guests, and then, okay, if a guest cancels after the 21-day cancellation window, Vrbo collects all fees. Does that include the cleaning fees, service fees? Yes, it includes all fees. It's the amount that they pay.
Hey, Bill, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, what's the motivation for a guest to cancel if we're charging them all the fees in rents? I mean, I think it's good. I think it's great for the owner, but why wouldn't they just hold on to it till the last day and decide, well, I'll cancel now and not show up? I mean, then we lose the opportunity to get rent. Should there be some incentive for them to cancel?
Well, we offer of course, we went to 14 days last year from 7 days, and we found that it really worked well. And so we're adding another week this year. And so I'm kind of doing it, we're not jumping head first into this. We're certainly going feet first, if you will, kind of testing the waters to make sure that we're not doing something that's hurting our chances of booking. But I will tell you, the 21 days is pretty much the most liberal in the market. There's nobody that I know of really that has less. There might be one small or 2 small companies, but so competitively, I think we're actually, the market's perhaps at 30 days where we're at 21 days. And we're just doing this for the summer, so not for the fall. We might do it through Shrimp Festival. Just, it is really property specific, and it will be, but So, in November and December, January, we're certainly not doing that. We're doing a much less. And so this will be dynamic so that during the summer and spring, people just can't cancel on a whim. They're committing and you're committing, we're committing to reserve this and not sell it to anybody else so you can have it. And we think that's fair. Now, we offer trip insurance and a lot of the customers are taking the trip insurance. And so if there's a legitimate reason for them to cancel, they can get their money back from the insurance company. And that works well. And I'm telling you, it works well. The problem there with the insurance is when we have a storm. The insurance companies' regulations on paying out for a storm are so specific that I will tell you, all of our storms back to just about Ivan probably would not have paid for at least 75% of the people that bought the insurance.
Go.
And so, when we have a tropical storm or when we have a storm that's a glancing blow and there's no evacuation here, but nobody's coming, we will give their money back. We're not going to hold money for no value. In other words, I'm going to treat the customers how I would want to be treated if it's me. And that's kind of, how we kind of apply these things. And so, I think that this plan is a good plan. And so have not seen any kind of what I would call resistance to booking because of that. Prices, yes, and we've adjusted those prices where that came in, but the cancellation policy has not been an issue. Now, if somebody has, some other things, I'm not cruel, and there's going to be some exceptions. But how do I treat the owner, right? And I've told the owner that I'm going to give them this, if that, and I'm probably going to end up paying the owner and giving the money back to the guest in some situations, just quite frankly, just because life's too short sometimes, right? But so I hope that makes sense to everybody, how we're doing it. All right.
Bill, does that cancellation policy also apply for snowbird rentals, especially when they book out a year in advance?
Snowbirds are different. We have some that are, no pun intended, grandfathered in that, kind of have the real light policy, but most of it is about 30 days out and it is not good. And right now the snowbird market is soft. It is, the last 2 years and COVID and it's just kind of disrupted that snowbird market. And so we're needing to kind of keep it where it is for the snowbird market. I would not want to change that today. I'm not confident that we could demand a change in the snowbird market yet. But we have to keep snowbirds into perspective. It's 5% at best revenue for the year, right? But it's very visible, right? They're here for a long time. We all get to know them better. They call you or, whatever to get that extra lamp or whatever. And it keeps the cash flow coming. It keeps the extra condo due payment, that you can pay, that sort of thing. So it helps. But, and Don mentioned the flood damages. So if you'll contact your rental manager, and if you're not getting happy, please send me an email. It's BLB at brettrobinson.com. And listen, for all Brett Robinson emails, you can include or exclude the hyphen, the dash between the Brett and the Robinson. It'll go to the same place. All right. All right. Another question is the cancellation policy current policy works for short-term rentals. Should that be adjusted for long, well, the snowbirds, we had already talked about the snowbirds, yes. Right now, the snowbird market is soft. Tony, do you want me to ask everybody, tell everybody what your question is? Is that a thumbs up? Tony
Sure.
Brown? Yep. Tony asked about labor and how we are doing for labor in the labor market. I will tell you, the labor market is extremely tough. Now, I know we have some board members on here, but your boards for the staff that are non-rental staff, the staff working on the buildings, and Brett Robinson is paying right now a $40 a week allowance, fuel allowance on top of their pay for employees to just live with the increases that they're paying. I will tell you why, back in March and everything, we were interviewed a ton of people. Hey, I live in Robertsdale. I can't afford to drive there, on these things. And so we were really, it was very sad. And so, today the prices are the highest they've ever been. The gas prices today, I paid last week to fill up $180. I drive a diesel truck though, but still, that's a lot of money. My assistant that works with me paid $90 to fill hers up about 2 weeks ago, and she came in just all mad. It is affecting our ability to staff. If we weren't doing that, I don't know where we would be, but I will tell you today, I'm crossing fingers and legs and toes, and we think that I can't say we're fully staffed, but we feel very comfortable, much more so than a year ago where we were. And so we've really adjusted over the last 2 years how we're treating it. I don't tell people we're a property management or a real estate company anymore. We are a labor company. We're in the people business, and our people are our business. And the people, we've got to be better at the services we provide. And that's, I think, where the market is for. And so we've got to have people we can rely on to do these jobs, on the buildings, in the units, things like that. And of course, we're in a resort market, right? And so, and we, south of us, we don't have another city south of us, right? It's all, there's nobody south of us. And so we only have kind of like 180 of what your normal average city would have, a 360 recruiting pool. So our market geographically is about half of what let's say the Birmingham geographically, not the population market is. And so it's, it's really tight. And, before we could pull in people from Mobile and Baldwin County and Pensacola pretty easily, up in Atmore and things like that. Today, that's much more difficult, pretty much not happening. So we're looking at other creative ways. So I hope that answers your question, Tony.
It does.
All right.
Bill, do you provide any type of housing for labor?
We do. We have roughly 100, what we are known as J1 students. These are 90-day college students from overseas. Back in 2019, we had 300 in the summer. And over the last, in 2020, we had 30. And so that really kind of made the labor shortage that much more profound, right? And so we think about the 100 count is best for management, for everything. And so for those people, we provide housing. Those 100 plus, we have 30 H2Bs, which they're not college students, they're regular adults that most of them, we have several that have worked for us for several years now. and they can come back, and they're here for 9 months, much more mature. We get a better, year out of those people. The H-2Bs, very good help. And so that helps. But we do not provide what I would call for your local families and that. Now we are looking at that. There is an effort that we are a part of in the area to provide that. But I feel like OWA and maybe some of the other, things like that will get better attention with that, if you will. And so we are looking at ways that we can do that within our company. And so again, we have pivoted to a labor company, and that's what we are. We're not a real estate company. Now that's the rentals. We still sell and develop real estate, and that's a real estate company. But our property management has turned into a labor company, and that's what we do. We make our revenue, property management. We're still, pushing to be excellent at that. But he who has the staff, the labor down here, will be successful. And you can go to restaurants, almost any restaurant today, and they've got tables shuttered, or they're not filling it up because they don't have the wait staff, the cooking staff. I went to, just up the street here 3 nights ago to the Island Wing Company. Their whole kitchen staff had quit that night, and they had in some second, and they had like half of the servers. And so it's just, you have to be a little patient. But I will tell you, kind of giddy where we're sitting. And this will get us, ahead. I hate to say that because I may wake up tomorrow and have a different opinion, but today we're doing well. But it didn't come easy. We transferred. I have a whole department effort in hiring. That's what they do, is they do our hiring. So, all right, I'm getting texts. My chat box is still up. I'm sorry, I'm holding it up. I'm going to I'll get it over here. Thank you. Thanks, Damon. All right.
Hey, Bill, how does Gulf Shores Orange Beach compare to, say, Destin or Panama City, Fort Walton, in terms of rental and capacity, I guess, tourists?
Right. I don't have their inventory counts today, but I will tell you a couple of surprising things. Gulf Shore, Baldwin County does more business than Bay County, where Destin and Panama City are in. And so then you have, if you combine Walton and Bay County, where we're not, but our area does pretty well. Bryant, I'm going to ask Bryant Loy, he is in charge of our revenue management department. I'm going to ask him to kind of speak to that. How do we know what Destin and those guys are doing, and what are we doing there?
Yeah, we can use Destimetrics, or not Destimetrics, Key Data, the same service that we use for what Bill was showing a little bit earlier, our comparisons to our market. We can subscribe to those other markets and see how we're doing versus those markets as well. So we can get a pretty good idea of how we're comparing versus them. They're seeing the same thing that our market's seeing this year, a little bit of a downturn versus 2021. Booking pace that's a little more similar to what we saw in 2019 and some of the past years. So they're kind of doing the same thing we are. They're having to pivot and make some adjustments on the strategy for some of those lower volume dates to try to, make up some of that difference a little bit.
And we also talk to Vrbo, right? We have an account representative, right, that works with us exclusively. He has other accounts, but or they have other accounts. I'm not sure. Bryant talks to them weekly, to discuss what's happening, with us compared to competitors. So
Yeah,
Okay,
Lexicon, who works with a lot of different markets throughout the country. She'll let us know what's going on with Panhandle, what's going on with some of the other Florida markets, what's going on with coastal Texas, Myrtle Beach, and some of those markets as well. So we keep pretty tuned in with that as well.
Don said it doesn't seem like Cancellation should have to pay the cleaning fees. Well, right now it's the full amount. And so, and what the trigger is that at 21 days, we automatically charge their credit card for the balance of what's owed. And that's the commitment that they're making. And we want them to make that commitment, that full commitment in the summertime, so that it hurts when they cancel, right? But they have the option again to purchase insurance, and we're getting a pretty good take rate. I don't know what the take rate is off the top of my head though, Brian, do you?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I do have that written down somewhere. So let me look.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Tony. Buy Corolla. Yes, I need to. I started, yes. And when were the last, Fred asked, when were the last 2 service desk staff members made the point to tell that the gas stipend really made a difference to them? I'm sorry, Fred, I'm not really sure. I will tell you, I've had several employees tell me they wouldn't be able to work if they weren't
That
getting
wasn't a
it.
question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That wasn't a question. It was a statement.
Okay, I'm sorry. So say it so everybody, make sure everybody's hearing.
So I'm the board president of Phoenix One, and so I'm the one that me and Tony actually have to approve the stipend for gas. And we were, you know, just followed along when Brett Robinson brought the plan to us. But when we were there last, which was like a month ago, 2 of the front desk staff members made the point to me that it really made a difference in their financial stability and ability to work for Brett Robinson, and they thanked me profusely. I was, you know, kind of surprised, but tickled that it was working so well.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Steve says, very smart. I agree. Great job. Thank you. And then Jim Johnson, is there any feedback obtained from the renters about their stay? And if so, could the owners know what the renters like for them? We are working on our review process and to ensure owners have access to their unit review information. We do, and we follow up with the guest on their reviews, but I will tell you, the review system is so off kilter and everything that it, anyway. But yes, we do watch those and keep up with those. Okay, Tony said, Tony is asking, what do we attribute the difference between last year and this year, right, Tony? Is that what you're asking for in demand? Right, the demand. And some of it is, I think inflation is a big part of it, right? But even more so to that, last year, you know, Las Vegas, New York, Italy, you know, all flying overseas or any flights were just, you know, Disney didn't open until the summer really, but, you know, and so keeping our competitors outside of the market, right, our competitors for that dollar, that travel dollar, was really stopped last year. Big city travel, I will tell you, a hotel in Birmingham, downtown Atlanta, or something like that, really took big hits last year. They're just now starting to get, you know, and so the headlines in a lot of the lodging industry trade organizations, you know, their newsletters and things are like, hey, travel is coming back and it's just now starting. COVID helped Orange Beach and Gulf Shores. COVID boosted our business pretty dramatically. Good thing is that, you know, we don't have to go all the way back down to where we were. And so, you know, a combination of inflation and competitors plus competitors opening up. And that to me are the major differences in demand today. All right. Oh, a question, I'm sorry, I lost my place. Steve asked if you rebook, so if somebody cancels and we rebook the unit. So if somebody cancels in that 21-day period, the owner's going to be paid as if they checked in. If we rebook it, we're going to be paid twice. You'll be paid for that second reservation as well. So we have the opportunity on some weeks and stuff like that to get paid twice, but I wouldn't count on that as a, you know, something to bank on, if you will. That makes sense, Steve? I hope so. 1 in 5 reservation purchase travel insurance. So about 20% are purchasing travel insurance now. You know, when you get in that 21-day period, not too many people buy it in that 21-day period. And so Jerry asked, do you have a larger demand for the 1, 2, 3, 4? Does your occupancy percent go up or down depending on the size? And the answer in short is yes. And so the different size units kind of react differently for a number of reasons. In years past, we had a lot more 2 bedrooms than we had anything else. And today we really have more 3 bedrooms than anything else. And then the 1s and 2s, there's no new or very few 2 bedrooms. I don't know of any 1 bedrooms being built on the beach. And so the future, those 1 and 2s, I think are a little better, but the 1 bedrooms have a harder time filling up in the summer. And that's just slightly. When I say that, we have to just give them a little more attention to renting those than the 2s and 3s. The 4 bedrooms are harder to rent in the off season just because they're so big and things like that. And so we do other things for that. So today there's a pretty good balance, you know, between 2s and 3s. Boy, that's something really strange just happened on my deal. Bill, I'm sorry. Anyway, and so, you know, we try and we watch, and if we would have showed you the differences between like the summer, the 1s, 2s, and 3s, you can tell, you know, the 4 bedrooms right now are giving us a little bit of a harder time. And I think that's right. You know, it's expensive. 4 bedrooms expensive. But the June is panning out nicely, and we have already made our adjustments for July. And so there's not going to be a problem. It's just, it takes a little more effort, if you appreciate what I'm saying, just a little more attention, things like that. So I will tell you what, I'm going to answer one more and I'll come back to the questions after we do the real estate portion. How about that? So I'm going to take one. David asked, is there any way for owners to see the renter feedback you received? Yes, that would be helpful in decorating and all. And so we want the owners to see the renter feedback, and we're trying to do that. Certainly when a renter sends something that would be helpful, we're sending that if it's very specific, if you understand what I'm saying. So we will help get that owner feedback out to you. All right, so I'm going to continue on with the show for the time being, and then just a couple more slides, then I'll stay as long as everybody wants to stay and answer all the questions, or at least try to answer. How about that? That good with everybody? let's move on a little bit, and then we'll come back to the questions. All right. So I got to take a picture of my screen here and send it. I'm sorry. I don't know what that's doing to Buck real quick.
Screen showing so hard.
I'm sorry about that. And so let's talk about sales just a little bit, and then we'll talk. I don't have your specific building, et cetera. Your sales agent, Brett Robinson sales agent, can certainly help you with that. But today, there are 287 active units for sale in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach on the MLS. And I'll tell you, if they're on the MLS today, showing that they're overpriced. In other words, they're priced out of the market. Now, I say that as a generality. You know, I have a real estate license, but I don't sell I don't sell, period, really. So, I don't do that day in and day out like I do the rentals and the property management and the labor management, right? But for the most part, units that are still listed are a little higher than what the market has been selling for. Prices have been leveling out recent months. In other words, from last year to this year, very steep price increase, and we're seeing kind of a, prices not jumping so much. And some is still, it's just steady pricing right now. And so 846 condos have sold and closed on the MLS. But I can tell you there are a lot of what, agents like to call pocket listings. So these owner to owner deals, there's just not reported there. It's got to be closer to 1,000 instead of the 846. So the FSBO sales, that kind of stuff, aren't listed on the MLS. We could look at the courthouse record, information, but we just use the MLS. That's just what is most readily used in our area. And so we're on par with 21 pace, but at a much higher price than what stuff was selling for last year. So the average prices for units right now versus 21, 39% for the 1 bedrooms up, 39%. Again, the 4 bedrooms are 79% higher, and they're selling for this. 3 bedrooms, 28, 2 bedrooms, 31. That's what the average price is, and it's just incredible, right? If you bought 2 years ago, you're the smartest person on the earth right now. And I didn't buy, I know that. So average closing price is $581. That's plus 21% up from 21. 8 to 10% is a normal number of units to sell. The number. So if you have a building of 100 units, selling 10 or so, 8 or 10 of those is about your average year. And so if the market's down, it might be 3 to 3%. But last year, it was really incredible. I know going to annual meetings this spring, a lot of new faces. We like new faces. I'm not saying anything about old faces. All right.
You better watch it.
Thank you, Bill.
That's right. The number of their average, right, across all buildings. Again, more normal pace, and our sales agents, Tim, my brother, put all this information together. Sales are not as frantic as they were. And then that was it for sales. I don't know. I'll try to answer any questions for sales. You'll have to unmute yourself because I don't know where we are on the chat box, and I'll get to it in just a second. So contact, we have to have 2 portals now. This is, it says HOA portal. For all your condo dues, your documents, your condo docs, newsletters, things like that. And then we have the rental here. My fat finger drawing there. And I'm sorry that's the case, but it's just going to be a while. I don't know. We'll probably have to change companies to do it. But this company here, you know, is a large company. We're one of 30,000 customers. And so, you know, it's them not letting us really communicate. And so we're trying to work that out. If you get where you're not getting, you know, you're trying to get in reservations and all, I would encourage owners to use our text. You know, if you need a reservationist to call you, a supervisor will call you back soon, you know, next in line, somebody watching it. And so last year, and not as much this year, it's really not, you know, last year we had so many calls, particularly as it got closer to summer, that owners couldn't get through, and they thought, you know, owners were complaining that, you know, we didn't hire enough staff. Well, we fully staffed our reservation staff. If anything, that's, you know, that staff is steady. You know, but it takes 60 to 90 days to kind of season an agent before they can answer the phones alone and things. And so we can't just hire somebody like that and turn it over. It takes almost a whole summer to train somebody if we were to hire them. And so that kind of happened. So I'm going to go back and answer a few of these questions. You know, that is the presentation. I'm going to answer as many questions. People will stay around. My staff can sign off. And if you would like to sign off, I really appreciate you being here. But so before we sign off and everything, I'm going to answer questions. And I just want everybody to appreciate that we're very grateful for your business. We know that you can rent with anybody. And we know that you're probably getting a call every week and a letter every day, you know, asking you to do the thing, to switch companies. We really appreciate the partnership. We think that that's what makes the product work so well, and, you know, and so successful. And we know that we just appreciate it, and we're working very hard to make sure that we're filling your condos up. More importantly, that the services you receive in your condo and then outside are superb. And so our staff, that's what we're working towards. You know, particularly in our housekeeping maintenance areas, working very hard to make sure we do a better job, notably better, in what's happening. So thank you for your business. Thank you for the opportunity. And please, if you're frustrated, give me a holler. If you're not getting your help that you need, I ask that you let me know, and we'll get it taken care of. So I'm going to start answering some of these questions that were on the board. So we did not talk. There was one question about we didn't have the coverlets in here, right? So we need to probably add that another time. So I'm going to talk just a minute about the coverlets. So I think as of today, and somebody's probably going to tell me I'm wrong, but we're close to having all beds with the new coverlets. And we think we're hearing very good feedback from the renters. I'm hearing some good feedback from owners and some not so good either. But for the renters, and that's really what we're doing this for, it's really, I think, a home run for us. Now, we will be, over the course of the year, rest of the year, we will be taking new pictures, posting those, and getting what I would call realistic pictures in for the condos. But I will tell you, haven't had one single complaint from the guest. I think we still have some residual COVID credit, if you will, for that complaint, but we got to get that done by the end of the year. We'll have to take those pictures again. So we'll do that. But I will tell you, the coverlets are durable. I think they're much nicer. And, you know, if you don't know, you know, think about the logistics of just, we didn't have that before. And so now we had to add a whole new system for bringing in these coverlets. The housekeepers, just getting them to the rooms. If you fill up a 3-bedroom, you know, you're going to clean a 3-bedroom unit. Well, that takes up all the room on your cart now. And so how do we do the logistics of all that? And that's just, I know you don't, it's not your, well, it is a concern. I don't mean to sound flippant about it, but it's our job, right, to manage that and to worry about it. But it's, I want some sympathy from you. I'm just kidding. You know, it's just something to think about. It's not that easy.
Bill?
Yes, sir.
My wife and I love the standardization of the bed and the linen.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, I think it's great. We don't have to spend all the money on fancy bedspreads and stuff like that to compete with everybody else. And it's great. And I'm all in favor of it.
Good. The bed skirts are a different thing. We still have some, we'll use your bed skirts, or we will put on what's called a bed box cover. Now with those metal frames, we don't have something covering that. And so we're working on that as we talk. So hopefully that'll get better. Okay. David asked, is our owner? Okay. We already did David's feedback. I'm going to go to some other feedback here. Thank you. That was Bev asking about the top sheet with the new white bedspread. That got you, Bev, I hope. Okay, access to guest feedback. We'll work on getting that to you more standard. All right. Thank you for the time. Okay, well, I think that's all. I'll stick around. We're here. And so
I do have one more comment, Bill.
sure.
There was a moment, and it really wasn't very long. I mean, it was like a moment when I was getting text messages when any change was made to the reservations portfolio for my unit. They stopped. I don't know what happened, but I no longer get those. Who is the right contact to get with to restore that on my profile? I don't know how to do it.
Fred,
I don't get them anymore either.
okay. Fred, I will tell you, that's the first I've heard of it. Let me find out and we'll get back to you. And
All right.
So.
Got it.
And you, and I'm hearing that for Tony, you said same thing with you.
Yes, sir.
So it sounds like maybe a system thing. Bryant, do you know anything? Or Buck?
That would be me. I'll get on it.
Okay. Buck is, that's Buck, is our IT, director of IT. He's director of it. And so I just ask him anytime there's something I don't know, it's all it. And so we will get that and make sure that's working. So Fred, we'll need to make sure it's working for everybody. And Tony, I'm assuming other owners, if just nod your head, if that's the same thing for you. Okay. All right. So we have the notification booking notice. All right.
Hey, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Pam and I want to compliment you on your knowledge of the market. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good to see you.
And I'm also glad to see, you're using all the tools that really seem to give you a good hand on the pulse of what's going on market wise. So anyhow, really want to let you know we appreciate all that, and way to go.
Well, thank you. And I will tell you, data is king. You just got to know it. And you got to be good at it. Bryant is the best. and Brian, I'm not, that doesn't mean you can get a big head. It just means that I think our team's the best at it. So thank you.
Yeah.
They're a lot better than, used to. I'd do it, right? And it would take summers. I can remember back in, I don't know, 14, 15, 20 hours, 30 hours a week, particularly in the summertime, they'd take. And now I meet with them 4 hours a week, and we discuss it. So thank you. All right. I think having these meetings kind of helps us. I'll give you just a second. Kind of helps us, kind of a check-in, if you will. Anybody that wants to kind of get a check-in for the sun, just kind of see how everything's going. I'm sorry I interrupted somebody.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Wyatt. Hi.
Bill, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I have a completely different question. Is there a chance we move our regular fall meeting back to November instead of, to earlier? Because there we wouldn't lose any rental, because usually it's empty anyhow. But last year we went down because when it was canceled, it was too late for us. We already made reservation, and we lost a lot of October rentals that we would have had. So in November we usually have nobody there anyhow. So could it be moved back there like we had before on the second Saturday or whatever?
You're at Phoenix
In November?
5, correct? Right, Ms. Wyatt?
Yeah, right.
Right. Your board,
Yes.
your board of directors has changed that. We no longer manage the homeowners association at Phoenix 5, and so that board is, I guess, has made that decision, and of course every board makes that decision. The homeowners make that decision. Certainly we would encourage to maximize rentals and kind of put those meetings, if you can, on times when it's not so popular to rent. So if you'll contact your HOA board, you'll need to do that.
Well, I wonder how many other people would agree with that. To have it in
Oh, I
November.
see Miss Charlene.
Anyhow, thank you so very much.
Yeah, I see Miss Charlene's at Phoenix 5 as well. Maybe y'all could get together and start a coup and take it over. So yes. All right.
Bill,
Well,
can
thank
you
you
hear
so
me?
very much.
Thank you. Miss Dewar? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question. Years ago, you used to send out a notice when somebody booked your condo. That no longer happens. What was the reasoning for not doing that?
Years ago, we send a notice when somebody books your condo.
Book the unit. We do not get that notice anymore.
Okay. Now,
And
I
have talked with reservation. They say this the program that, because it used to be they'd send it to the person that booked it and the owner. Only now they can have to manually do it if they send it to the owner. That's something
you're talking about your BBO
board.
guest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll have to ask Buck, and we'll get back with you, Ms. Dewar, here pretty quick on that. Those, the BBO, we have not had success in kind of getting that last bit of effort, the last 10% perfected on that system. And it's a software issue with our software provider, and we're not having much success there right now. So we're going to have to figure some good workaround. And so we'll have to be more consistent on that. We'll fix that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bill,
Yes.
hi, this is Dawn. I had a question about the survey or something after a guest checks out.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if we've ever done that because we've only owned for the last year. But as far as getting guest feedback, as far as things being broken or missing, or how they thought the unit was furnished, or checking in, checking out, that kind of feedback. I mean, is there a survey that goes out to them afterwards that could also be sent to us as the owners?
Right. We ask every guest to review, you know, and I will tell you, are trying to get that, what I would say, organized well enough to be able to forward those to the owners. It's very, you know, we need to tighten that up, and we'll work on that. We will not have a system like that for the summer. Maybe by the time we do evaluations in the fall, we start evaluations in August, but you know, in the fall, maybe we can get that information. We hope to be able to get that information to you.
Maybe an incentive to them, you know, whereas if they fill out the survey, you know, they can get whatever 5% discount off of their first night or something like that. Just off of one night, not the whole day. I don't know, something like that, you know, to get them to fill that out.
Well, listen, the surveys are important. The reviews are important. We get them and we pay attention to. I will tell you right now, we get, I think, the concentration on a few complaints. And so we're not getting what I would call the regular ones as much. And so we've switched our system, and we're working on that. So I hope to have that straightened out before too long.
Okay, thanks. I've just never seen any reviews on our unit at all. I wouldn't even know where to get them. I have never gotten any feedback other than the little guest book I have at the unit, so.
Okay. Look for, when we do evaluations in the fall, for something to be connected with that. And that'll be the start.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll stay. My team can go. I've just appreciate it.
Hey, Bill.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Rick on Bev's iPad. I'm in the BBO program, and I like it very much. But and I know what the answer. I already heard that there are some little glitches in the BBO, but I'd like to point out one that happens. I pay for all my rentals at the end of the month, and what happens is when guests check in, if you've got a new person or somebody that's not paying attention, it shows a balance due, and of course they've already paid me.
Yes.
And occasionally, if you got a new person, they'll get confrontational with the guest, and it results in me getting a bad review. So all I'd like to say, and I know this is an IT thing, if you could somehow get with your IT people and get some way to flash up some kind of a message, so that the people that are booking the people in don't have to go down and read notes to know that balance doesn't have to be paid. Just some way to like put it in their face where they can't miss it, so they don't get confrontational with the guest. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, I get some really ugly reviews.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that, and yes, and I know what you're talking about. That's within that 10% gap that we haven't finished yet, and I don't know when we are, but it is on our priority list.
Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, it's
rememberable. I know it's kind of like a fire. It's kind of like a fire sprinkler leak. It doesn't happen often, or blow, but it doesn't happen often. But when it does, you're in for a big one.
Yeah, right. Well, just because I heard Buck was there and you're here, because I think that's something that's going to have to come from the top, because it's a software thing that needs to be fixed. So I just I know there's not a lot of BBO programs. I love it, but I would just hope someday you can get that corrected. So and what again, I think when I click BBO rental I would think that somehow your system could also tell the people checking the people in, you know, what's going on, or don't collect money from guests or something. So that's my only comment.
Well, thank you. And yes, it is a priority. We'll get
Okay,
it
good.
fixed. All right.
Thanks.
Thank
you.
Bill,
Yes, ma'am.
I do VRBO. I send a note, a letter to my guests, an email telling them to take their reservation with them so they'll have it when they go to the front desk. That might help the gentleman that was just talking.
Rick, did you hear that?
I did. That's a great idea.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I did hear that. That's a great idea.
We'll get it solved. We'll get it solved.
Okay.
You know, yes. I was going to make a joke, but it didn't turn out right. Hey.
Hey, Bill, a question about the market in general. What is the maximum capacity do you see in Orange Beach, or say Baldwin County? You know, you said there are 18,500, I think, hotels and condos and beach houses, right?
Right.
But are we, I mean, I guess the question is, how much more growth will there be on the beach? And at what point are we starting to cannibalize the existing rentals? You know, that's always been a concern. You buy something, you're on the beach, and then you see, you know, 10 more condo structures go up.
Right.
You know, at what point are we at maximum capacity where, you know, the rentals will now start going down because of additional buildings on the beach or
Right.
anywhere, I guess?
Sure. You know, and that's a question that owners have. I've been doing this work, I hate to say it, 28 years now, and 27. And I've heard that every year at a lot of annual meetings and stuff like that. Back in the 90s, I can remember a year where, you know, we opened 400 units in one year. And this year in our area, roughly, let's say maybe 150 units tops. I really think it's 196 unit. At the end of this year, Phoenix Gulf Towers 1 will open. It really won't start renting until next spring. So next spring. And so there's really not a heck of a lot. There's, you know, some small buildings in numbers that I think are very manageable. So there certainly could be some years in the future where so much opens in one year that it affects rentals. I don't see that for the next 5 years, let's say. I just don't, you know, that's as far out as I could conceive that problem. And you know, a lot of the problems are, you know, today, I can just tell you, I know of 2 projects, the Atlas and Caribe by the Sea, that have been announced, but I can tell you, I would be very surprised, and I don't, if somebody here has bought one of those units, don't let me, I'm not, you know, this is not official, this is Bill's opinion, this is, but I will just tell you, I would be very surprised if those buildings are built or started within the next year. Started construction within the next year, just because of what construction prices are doing. And I can give you an example. You know, we just, you know, are scratching the ground for Phoenix Gulf Shores 2. It's a 110 unit building. They're all sold. We have 3 buildings, all of them are sold out. And so about 100 units, Brett Robinson, you know, of those 100 units, you got to consider that maybe about 50 at most are going to rent. The units, as units are more expensive, we're finding more owners are buying them and not renting them. And so, you know, maybe 50 units a year over each year for the next 3 years at least for Brett Robinson alone. But I don't see much more opening. I will tell you, I think that there's plenty of room in the market to absorb that kind of inventory You know, and so but the construction price I can tell you, you know, we got a price for glass at, you know, Phoenix Gulf Shores 45 days ago, and we just got an updated price. It's $1 million more. And so that's how fast these prices, you know, is very volatile. And so anybody doing development and construction right now is taking a big pause and thinking about it. And so will it build there one day? Yes. At some point, I believe that the older buildings, and it'll start with the stick built buildings, you know, years ago, low density, smaller buildings will start selling. A few of those have sold, but the prices today, even as high as the prices are per square foot, it doesn't make sense. You can't, you know, wind drift, for instance, a 100-unit building, you can't go buy all those 100-unit owners out at today's market value and build a building and make a profit. And so it's very difficult, even with the vacant land out there today, to build and sell. And you can't, I don't know of anybody able to get a bank loan to build a building, or if you do, you got to have so much skin in the game that you practically are funding it, the developer themselves. And so developing is at the peak of difficulty right now. And so I hope that makes sense. I think that there's enough bandwidth in the market to absorb that, particularly for those units that are competitive. And by that, I mean those units that the owner keeps it nice, that your board is doing a good job, the owners are keeping the building nice, but the unit's nice too. As long as you can do that, look at Phoenix 1 and Island Winds and what they're doing. Phoenix 1 is coming up with some of the best rentals, beating out units, buildings that were built way before them, I mean after, because the owners are really investing in their whole project, and the units are, the owners are really competitive with their units and the decor. And so that's why today, you know, Bryant and his team are really looking at individual units every night of the year. We're not doing stuff kind of seasonally by bedroom types anymore. And so you will start seeing, particularly as we get into summer and things, you know, there might be 5 different 2-bedroom prices that you see in the same building because, you know, of decor issues, demand. Those units that are getting the higher demand command the higher prices and are getting the better occupancy. And so that kind of stuff helps, and it gets to a point where it's a tipping point to, it makes a lot of sense to spend a little bit more money to get a lot more revenue type thing. And that can happen, but, you know, and it's all about smart buying. The service desk team has, you know, they're much better at really following the trends. What kind of units, what decor is really producing the best kind of rent. And it is profound. I mean, it can be $15,000, $20,000 difference. And it can just be a couple of couches, you know, some throw rugs, some artwork, a cheap artwork, not, I say cheap, I mean inexpensive, right? It needs to match and it needs to look, it needs how it looks, and that thumbnail picture that people see online when they're looking on their phone, and their phone, most of the guests now are looking on their phone, and that's what we're seeing. And so you have to be able to see that tiny picture catches their eye. That's what drives that demand. So I've spent a long time talking about, you know, you know, the market and these new units coming on, but I will tell you, it's much less so today than it was back in the 90s. And it was really, you know, 400 and 500 units a year. There was one year, I believe there was over 1,000 opened. And so we had a little plateau of rent. We didn't have a growth that year, but we didn't lose any either. With the jump in the rates that we've had from COVID, we are hoping, we're not hoping, we're doing everything we can to make that the new benchmark and the new standards. And so I will tell you, you know, I feel like it's a solid investment. You know, owners that have bought in Phoenix, the older Phoenix buildings, and have stuck with it, I think has worked out well. And I think the same applies for those units, newer units selling today, or even if you're buying in an older building today. The board, the building upkeep, the unit upkeep is paramount over all of that, right? But if the walkways and the elevators and the pools aren't managed well, that's us too, right? Then it doesn't work. And that's why this good partnership, I think, works well. All right.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback, Bill. That was great.
Thank you. I wish I had money to buy units right now. I would be buying units. I literally would be. So there you go.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. See y'all. I'm gonna assume people are signing off. It's dinner time, 7 o'clock. We've been at it 2 hours.
Bill, can I ask you one other question real quick?
You bet.
Do you know, how do we contact VRBO to update our listing? Because like some of the words, the description is not up to date, and there's some old reviews on there from prior to when we purchased the unit. Like, I'd like to be able to respond to reviews and that sort of thing. Do you know who we contact?
Yes, our marketing department will take care of, we have to do that internally here. That's the listing that Brett Robinson buys, I'm assuming is what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Reach out to me. Reach out to me. I'll handle it.
Who's me? Bryant? Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Bryant.
Okay.
Yep.
Is your number on the Brett Robinson website?
You know, it's Bryant, BRYANT, L at BrettRobinson.com.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night, y'all.
Thank you. Dale, I still love your icon, your picture there with the Lysol. Thank you. A little comic relief helps. Okay. Well, I'm just going to stand by, see if anybody has any other questions, kind of getting ready to sign off. Thank y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Punch out, Buck and Bryant. Y'all can punch out. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just sign off. I will be available by cell if y'all need me. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to end the call.